The NBA in-season tournament has been announced, and more importantly, the groups for the tournament have been drawn. And so I wanted to come on and give some thoughts about it. Look at the groups, see how the Kings did when it comes to the group draw in the West. And so I'll start out by explaining, if you don't know what the in-season tournament is, it's well, I don't know why they couldn't come up with a better name than in-season tournament. I guess they really wanted it to be very descriptive. Everyone knows what it is. It's just an in-season tournament. But I'm all for this in-season tournament. Might as well throw some gimmicks early in the season. Why not? I wasn't for the play-in, but then that did super well, so I'm for it if they want to try something like this. And pretty much what it is it's a tournament to try to spice up a dull portion of the regular season, which is that portion right before Christmas when casual fans aren't really watching until Christmas and beyond. And so there's three groups of five in each conference. Every team will play each other, so each team plays four games. For some reason, they didn't just make the groups the divisions, which, I mean, the divisions are perfectly three divisions per conference, five teams per division. So why do we still have divisions? If we're not going to use them for something like this where they work perfectly and could create bigger rivalries and storylines across multiple seasons if the groups were always the same within the division, like what's the point? I get that, some divisions are weaker than others and they made it so it is based off the previous seeding, the previous season's seeding in the conference, and I do think that makes sense. So I'm not saying they should use the divisions. I'm just saying they should probably get rid of divisions as a whole if they're not even gonna use it for something like this. And then whoever comes out on top of their group, moves on to the final 8, and but I said final 8, and there's only 3 groups per conference, so then there are 2 teams, 1 from each conference that's like the second or the best second place team. And that's where I have a lot of questions because just with the way the math works out, you have to get another team in there. But that's just going to result in a lot of ties, I would think. And there even could be ties for first place of a group. That's my biggest concern about this whole thing is what are the tiebreakers? And I didn't watch the full announcement that they did. I wasn't home at the time, so I guess they could have said something about it, but I don't think they did. Uh, it just seems like there's a lot of room for there to be ties, and that's never a good thing because nothing is worse than a team not getting a spot because of a tie and they lose the tiebreaker based off whatever they won this game at home but lost their road games or vice versa or their point differential was worse or whatever the tiebreaker is, as long as it's not, if they get past the head to head, if it's like a three-way tie or whatever, or if it's a cross group tie and then there's no head to heads, and that could lead to some bad situations. So that's one concern I have about the format. And then all these games are going to count as regular season games. And except for the championship game, which will be an 83rd game for the two teams in the championship. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the scheduling goes, especially for the teams that qualify for the playoffs portion or whatever they're calling it, because you have to play a certain team that also qualifies to that playoffs portion. And so that means, are you just playing that team possibly an extra time in the regular season, or did the schedules just get like changed? I don't know how that works. So that's another thing that will be interesting to see how the schedules work because those playoff games, other than the championship game, are also part of the regular season. but we obviously don't know which teams will be playing at this point. So it creates for a weird scheduling thing there. But I am still excited for this because I feel like it's just why not? Why not? This seems like a fun thing to be happening. And it's one of those things where if the Kings lose in the group round, it's like, okay, whatever. But if they advance, then I'm all in on it. And so I think that's fun because the stakes aren't super high, which can be seen as a bad thing. You want there to be something on the line. But I do think the teams that go far, those fans will care. And I see a lot of people mentioning like the NBA is trying to go more of the European soccer route with like the Champions League. And, you know, I hate that format for European soccer as someone who has watched a lot of European soccer in the past 3, 4 years. I hate how they do everything over there. It just kind of there are so many different tournaments and leagues that it just like dilutes everything, but I don't think the NBA is in danger of that because like I said, and fans aren't going to necessarily care that much if their team loses in the group stage. I don't this isn't taking away from the actual title. So that's a good thing. I wouldn't want them to add any more tournaments to the season. And so we'll just see how this goes. I think it could be interesting if like if teams actually start caring about this, then a way to stop tanking maybe is the bottom however many teams don't make it, like the bottom 6 teams don't make it to uh the tournament the next season or something like that. I don't know, but that could be something they implement if this does turn out to be a success. And so let's look at the groups. The Kings got drawn into a group with the Warriors, the Timberwolves, the Thunder, and the Spurs. So I would say this is a pretty favorable draw. I believe how they did it was like 1 through 3 in the conference all got put into different groups, and then 4 through 6 got put into different groups, but randomized. Uh, and so I'm just glad that the Kings didn't get Phoenix in their group. Like there's the Memphis Phoenix group. That's tough with the Lakers. That's a tough group. So our toughest team is the Warriors, a rematch, obviously, from the playoffs. And I hope the NBA is smart in terms of how they schedule this. I hope they don't randomize it. It's interesting because each team gets 2 home games and 2 road games, but it's not like they're playing each team twice. So when we play the Warriors, only one of the teams gets home court. So I wonder how they'll decide that. Like maybe it'd be cool if the team that is like the top of the group, like the Kings get first priority at picking or something like that, like which teams they want to play at home versus away. And then, Denver would as well and Memphis in the other groups. Because I hope it comes down to something like the Kings and Warriors are fighting for the top of the group, and they play in the final game of the group, and it's in Sacramento. Like that's the hope. And so I hope that the NBA is smart on how they schedule these games to make it the most exciting, because obviously the Spurs could surprise everyone and be top of the group, and you can't see that coming. But hopefully, the NBA schedules the most likely game to hold the most drama as like the final game. I think that would be cool. There's still obviously a lot of mystery, a lot of unanswered questions. Nobody really knows how this in season tournament is going to go. And of course, there are a lot of skeptics towards it. People just don't like any sort of change. But I just feel like this in no way hurts anything. Like, you might as well just try it, especially since it's not like they're adding more games, other than they're adding one more game total out of every team, one more game, to the entire schedule. So I'm definitely excited for this. I just think if this is a success, it could make the regular season matter more, not just because if teams care about the tournament, they'll try harder in games, and those games also count towards the regular season, not just because of that, but because I feel like the NBA can do so many things in terms of if you finish, top of your conference the previous season, then you'll get priority at, picking, like I said, home and away or your matchup or something like that. Because that's the thing the NBA is struggling with is making the regular season matter more because it is very long and a lot of the games don't necessarily matter as much as we would want them to. So I really hope this is a success. Anyways, that is it for this episode of the Royal Report. I will be back. I think tomorrow is when the Kings play the Clippers, but I'll talk about that game. I'll talk about the Kings waiving PJ Dozier. I'll talk about all that in the next one. So until then, I will see you guys later. Peace.